elevated when I get to the penthouse. On top of the mountain, I feel like a Moses. In spiritual science, you know I'm devoted. I'm pulling your rank, you got the motive. I just want the money, I don't want the fame. It's you and I verse, so you know my name. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Mental Gymnastics. I want to give a quick shout out to all the shamans and mystics out there. Thank you guys for rocking with me. I'm your host, Professor Zeus, and today we got some interesting stuff to talk about. I don't know if a lot of you guys know, but I am a very spiritual person. I like to take or be influenced or walk in the light of different religions or different walks of life in order to add to my own personal life so I can be the best version of myself that I can be. And one of those big proponents is Islam. So I'm a follower of like Orthodox Sunni Islam, the Nation of Islam with Honorable Louis Farrakhan. I'm also a follower of the Nations of Gods and Earths. If you're familiar with my stuff, you know I like to delve into Supreme Mathematics and Supreme Alphabet. They deal with that. Moorish Science. Shout out Noble Drew Ali and Duce Ali. And yeah, so Islam is kind of like a big thing for me. So this story kind of is like hits home for real, you know what I mean? So basically, a lot of individuals are now saying that Muslims or people who are, followers of Islam are white supremacists, are the new white supremacists. And I just thought that was so interesting. We have some stuff to check out. I have articles and different things like that. So this all started, I want to say, last month. I live in Montgomery County, Maryland, and we have a large Muslim population out here. And early last month, a lot of the Muslim community went to the Montgomery County School Board and was saying that, we have the right to be able to opt out of our children learning about LGBTQ stuff and different things like that. So there was like a huge protest. We'll check that video out. But from there, it seems like, the left or Democrats and things like that are now saying that Muslims are now the ones who are being the proponents of, white supremacy, even though in the past, with things like 9/11 and things like that, it was the same, like the other side, Republicans and the right, basically saying that, Muslims are public enemy number one. We can't trust it and things like that. But now you have these same quote unquote conservatives, Republicans saying that we are, allying with the Muslims because we have a common goal. We don't want to show certain things to our kids in school. So I just thought this was really interesting. We got some stuff to check out and, we can form our own opinions. But I wanted to first start off with a video clip of Jen Psaki. She was President Biden's previous press secretary. So you know how they go into that room and there's a podium and then someone's talking to the journalists and things like that. She used to be that for Biden and stuff like that. So she literally came out with a video, it was either yesterday or 2 days ago, where she was saying how, Republicans are using that same old playbook, take one type of people, pit them against each other. And like I said, I just thought it was interesting. But before we start, if you want to support this channel, or if you want to support, head over to youandiverse.co. We still got 720 Degrees of Ascension, paperback and ebook. And we got shirts, we got tees, only a few sizes left. If you are interested in purchasing anything, you can always, reach out to me. I have no problem, helping you do that. But let's get into that first clip, okay? So, okay, stick with me here, and I explain below. After going after Muslim Americans for years now the same right wing is trying to get Muslim Americans to go after the trans community. So let's see what she has to say here.
So lately I've been noticing the reemergence of a very old GOP playbook. that harkens back to President Richard Nixon's infamous Southern strategy. During his campaign for president in 1968, the Republican Party made a concerted effort to reach white Southerners who used to vote for Democrats by playing to their fears of African Americans and the civil rights movement. And it worked. By pitting one group of Americans against another, the GOP successfully managed to split off Southern whites from the Democratic Party. Now, decades later, the right wing is reviving that same playbook, this time with Muslim Americans and trans people. Hear me out here. The GOP is trying to recruit Muslim Americans, a community that makes up less than 2% of the U.S. population, against another tiny marginalized group of Americans, transgender people. It's important to remember that back in 2011, during the Republican primary, the right wing had designated Muslim Americans as public enemy number one. No surprise, given that conspiracy theorists, remember the birthers? I do, had been trying for years to portray President Obama as a Trojan horse for Sharia law. Republican after Republican candidate ginned up fear about the fabricated threat posed by an Islamic legal doctrine debated by scholars for centuries. To them, the imaginary prospect of Sharia law in this country was scarier than gun violence, climate change, and more important to discuss than, say, millions of people who didn't have health care.
I do not believe in Sharia law in American courts. I believe in American laws in American courts.
If we think that there is an undermining now, just wait. If Sharia is adopted or utilized by justices in the United States.
Accepting Sharia in the United States would be the end of our civilization as we know it. No jurisdiction will tolerate having Sharia imposed in the United States of America.
Okay, so to be fair, you know, America technically isn't the Middle East, so something to the extent of Sharia law wouldn't make sense in America. I mean, it just wouldn't. I mean, if we were in the Middle East or different places like that, you know, it would make more sense. But you can't use those videos and say, oh, you know, they're trying to say this. They're just literally saying that Sharia law, which is one of the tenets or one of the pretty pivotal aspects of, we can't have it in America because, you know, we're not run that way. So that's technically not wrong to say, right?
The end of our civilization as we know it, he says. Of course, there was no chance.
Something else.
Trump's origin story is the birther movement is a part of that. But all of this also set the stage for him to make this declaration as a candidate in 2015.
Donald J. Trump is calling for a total and complete shutdown of Muslims entering the United States.
Now, fast forward 8 years, and the right wing has focused their fear-mongering on trans people. And who better to go after the new enemy than the old enemy? Consider this from 2015.
We cannot be the warehouse of all these, Muslim people coming from these far-flung lands where, we're just not going to be able to control who becomes radicalized, who doesn't.
Okay, I understand what she's saying. So, I mean, obviously there was, Islam is obviously a huge religion. A lot of people convert to Islam, all the time. I wasn't born Muslim or anything like that. I was in fact born Catholic. And then I took my Shahada later on in my life. But like I said, there was still a lot of radicalization during this time. But if you understand the truth and understand being, a righteous person, you won't, be radicalized. So I understand what, Laura Ingraham is trying to say, that, a lot of Americans were getting radicalized at this time. And we were having a lot of quote unquote terror issues. But yeah.
Because of technology, it's impossible.
Now, if you can believe it, Laura Ingraham is rallying Muslims against books in schools with LGBTQ plus themes.
Us Catholics and other Christians, other people of faith have been waiting for the Muslims to step up on this issue.
In an interview later with Semaphore, Laura Ingram's guest, who you just saw on the screen, couldn't believe how ironic this all is. He said, quote, 5 years ago, Laura was saying we shouldn't have Muslims in this country. Now she's saying, thank God the Muslims are here. Just to summarize, the right-wingers, the conspiracy theorists, the birthers, they now want us to forget the years they spent fear-mongering about Muslims and Islam. 10 years ago, standing against Sharia law was the key GOP litmus test. Now that litmus test seems to be how fervently you oppose transgender people. Just listen to what Trump himself had to say about that. Even he doesn't exactly know why he's attacking them.
It's amazing how strongly people feel about that. You see, I'm talking about cutting taxes. People go like that. Talk about transgender. Everyone goes crazy. Who would have thought 5 years ago you didn't know what the hell it was?
So what you just heard in that video, that sounds an awful lot like and reminiscent of what George Wallace, a staunch segregationist, once told a newspaper editor. Quote, I tried to talk about good roads and good schools and all of these things that have been part of my career and nobody listened. And then I began talking about Black people and they stomped the floor. So let's be clear. This is the same old GOP playbook, another cynical ploy to tear at the fabric of our society and damage the idea that out of many, we are one, all because they want so desperately to regain the White House.
Yeah, so tell me what you guys think about that. I mean, I thought that was interesting. I mean, it's interesting. Look at this next article. Look at this article here. Parents protest Maryland school district's LGBTQ curriculum, want a right to say what our kids are learning. Montgomery County Public Schools parent Dawn Inokohan said she was excluded from an invite-only school board meeting addressing the controversial policy. Hundreds of parents are demanding that Maryland's largest school district allow them to opt out of classes and books that discuss topics like sexuality and gender. Parents of different religious faiths, including Christians and Muslims, rallied outside the headquarters of the Montgomery County Public Schools Tuesday to show their solidarity and stand up to the district's controversial LGBTQ curriculum. So, I mean, is it that you're turning an old enemy against the new enemy, or do Muslims actually want the option to opt out? They're not saying they don't love so and so. They're not saying that they're not in support of whatever you're doing, but they're saying that they should have the option, if they don't feel like it's right for their children based on their faith, that they should be able to opt out, because that's not something that they hold near and dear to their heart. But to call them white supremacists is crazy. I mean, literally. Let's see here. Let me see if I can find the video. Announced last year efforts to include an LGBTQ inclusive reading list as part of the English language arts curriculum. I mean, it's just hard, because if you're a parent and you're Muslim, there's certain things that you would want to go for, and there's certain things that you don't want to go for. So, I mean, to call them white supremacists, I just feel is look here. Maryland Democrat calls Muslim families white supremacists. You're calling them white supremacists because what? I still don't understand it. And a part of the meeting that allowed the middle schooler kids may have been unfair to LGBT. I mean, guys, it's crazy, and I just feel like when two quote unquote opposing sides want to fight for a similar cause, I mean, you're going to find yourself in situations like this. And I'm not saying, Muslims and Christians are enemies or anything like that, or Muslims, Christians are heroes, or people who are, LGBTQ are enemies or anything like that. I'm just saying that, we do live in a country where you have the freedom to practice whatever religion you feel is right. Now, if that's the case, if you're able to actually practice any religion that you'd like to, then when it comes to the school board, you should in fact have some sort of say on certain things that you feel might not align with your faith. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. You know, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But you guys tell me what you think, right? Are Muslims new white supremacists, or is that crazy? Do you feel that, that they should have the opportunity to opt out of certain topics within class? Do you feel it's fair to say that Republicans are trying to recruit Muslims to, fight LGBTQ in schools and stuff like that? Or this is just a real something real that, people who follow, the religion of Islam feel that, they should have a voice and stand up and, say, hey, you guys can do what you do, but respectfully, we don't want to be a part of it. You guys let me know. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe, and please share some comments. It helps the YouTube algorithm. As Mental Gymnastics, I teach you, you teach me. We take what we taught each other and apply to what's going on in life. That's the only way life is going to progress. Keep your eyes open. There's a lot of crazy stuff going on. Y'all take care. Y'all stay safe. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.
Elevated when I get to the penthouse. On top and on my own, I feel like I'm Moses. Spiritual science, I'm devoted. I'm pulling your rank, you got the motive. I just want the money, I don't want the fame. It's you and I.